YouTube, is Brian Proctor back again. And why do I look so old and tired? Probably because I've been moving for about 2 weeks. Anyway, I have been moving and I found my old art. And I've been telling people in videos that once I find my old art, I'm going to put it in for like a comparison of old and new. So here is the art that I did back in the day compared to what I do now. Okay, starting right off the bat, I believe this was junior high school, and this is one of my first watercolor pictures that I tried. And I drew myself as a superhero. And back in the day, I was crazy about the Fantastic Four, which is, you can see the four, and then I like Thunderbirds. You see what is Thunderbird? I don't know if that's Thunderbird 2 or 3 in the back, and it's on the alien world. But yeah, that was a self portrait of me, probably one of my first self portraits. And I liked what was it, Nightcrawler's uniform. So that's what I kind of put it in, that red, yellow, that red and black. I'm sorry, uniform, and then utility belt from the Batman thing. But that was my first try at watercolors and doing a superhero of myself. Anyway, back when I had hair. So I believe that was junior high. So as I say, these are in no particular order, and I'm down here on the floor. So I'm grabbing some from the pile. So let's go with this one. I don't remember when this was, but this is a team that I did. A lot of my brother, actually, he was into comics for a little while, and he did these characters. Let me see if all of them. I think he did these characters, and did nothing with them, and I liked them, and I just said, hey, you know what? I'm going to do something with these characters. So this is before I kind of figured out how to do anatomy right. I mean, I could point out so many bad things about it, but I couldn't tell you what year. I think that might have been high school, early high school. And then I came along after that, and I made my own team here with me in it, in my red and black outfit again, and against my brother's team, which I claim because he really never did anything with it. So, and I never did anything with them either. I wrote a lot of stories for my particular team, but never did anything with it. And I still have the stories today. And that had to be in the early 80s, late 70s, I believe. I'm not sure, but I mean, if I went full blown, I could have so many books up with these guys. So, moving on. This one was a character my brother did, another character he did, and did nothing with. And I liked that character, so I created another character to fight this guy. And I was so proud of that hand. That was when I first started to do or have to learn how to do hands right. I mean, a couple of the fingers are too long, too short, but yeah, I was proud of that. And that was going to be the cover of my book, my Android. It was called Android. It was just going to be a blow up cover. And back in the day, I don't know why, but I figured I had to draw everything big. It just was like big poster size. But that was going to be the cover, and I was happy with it until this happened. And then I was like, okay, you know what? I'm not happy. Let me pull this down some so you can see a little bit more of it. Yeah, so that little ink stain, and I'm on the floor with this camera, that little ink stain right here just took all the wind out of me because I was doing that with a ruler. And yeah, I didn't know anything about inking. It was just tracing over and trying to do the best I can. So this was the character I came up with to go against my brother's character, or my character, because as I said, I claimed them to be mine. So let's see if I can tilt this camera up or down. And I think I had that in high school. It was like an art show. And I put that up in high school, 12th grade. Yeah, at the bottom is 12th grade. And I don't think it won anything. I don't know if it was meant to win anything, but I put that up because people weren't really into comics. And if you look at the character in the blue, you can see the arms are crazy wrong. Let's zoom in on that real quick, because I didn't know. As I said, I didn't know what I was doing. Biceps and triceps and quads and all of that, things like that. I had no idea what I was doing. And that's a little short story. And I guess you could pause it and read about it if you choose to. But yeah, never went anywhere. But I mean, it's still in the folder of possible superheroes to come. So let's move on to this next character. And I was kind of into Iron Man at one time before he became really popular, Iron Man. And it was kind of like Iron Man and Star Wars crossover. So I created this battle suit for me because I was always, a superhero, the main focus. And it was hard to do hands. Let's see if I can zoom in on this. Just pick this thing up and zoom in on it. It was hard for me to do hand, so I was proud of that one hand, but I couldn't get that other hand because he was going to hold a little sword. And it was not a lightsaber, but I said, okay, the lightsaber at that point when Star Wars came out, lightsabers just blew up. Everybody had some kind of light sword. So I decided to do one made from sound. Where is it? Here it is. Here's the big poster. And as I said, I drew big on everything. I don't know why. So yeah, that was the little sound saber that the guy had. And what it was, how I had it, was there was a rod that actually came out. Focus it. There was a rod that came out that emitted sound, and the sound hit the tip of the rod, and it went back, and it just went back and forth. So it was basically a sound saber, which, never went anywhere because I didn't do anything with it. But as I said, it's possible that I could use this guy. And I like the big boots. I think Iron Man at that time always had those big boots, and I kind of like those big boots on a character. So that was my half iron suit. I think this guy was some kind of a space guy, or I really don't know what it was, because it was just, when I was young, I was just drawing. So here's another one. I'm thinking this one's junior high too. Again, always the large stuff. So that was another team that I did, Force 3. And of course, that was like me in the middle, and two other guys that I created, and just to, be part of my team. And I was Han Solo. That was my favorite character at the time because he had that holster that kind of like slung down, and I like that. So from that, every character that I had a gun. It was like way down, like on his thigh. So yeah, that was another one. I believe that was junior high school. And again, with the hands, I was not a hand person, as you can tell by the fist and the kung fu grip hand. And so yeah, I was not really good at hands at that point. So here's a Wolverine I did. At one point I did not like Wolverine, but then I kind of liked him. And I don't know what year that was, but my mother was painting room, and it got all this paint. I think something fell over and it ran on my drawing, and I just killed it. I mean, like, it's not perfect anymore because you just got paint all over my drawing. So yeah. Zoom in on it. I think that's when Jim Lee, I don't know if it was before Jim Lee or was that a Jim Lee Wolverine? I think that was a Jim Lee Wolverine. But yeah, I was a Jim Lee fan, so I try to mimic his style as best I can. And then when I got his style, I decided to do my own style because there was a lot of haters. I tried to get jobs in comics, and there was a lot of haters that hated Jim Lee. So I said, okay, it's best to do my own style. And my sketchbook, let's take a look at the sketchbook. This was my character again that I was doing. I didn't really give him a name, but I had to flesh him out a little bit more so that I knew what I was doing. Yeah, as I said, it's in my stable of characters, so if I ever decide to use it. And what else do I have in this sketch pad? Let's see. Oh, Ronin Warriors. Me and my son, we were just into that. It was a store. It was like a Chinese store, Japanese store, whatever. But they would rent anime. It wasn't discs. I guess it was the DVDs, and they weren't subtitled, but I would look at them anyway and just marvel at what they could do. So I think that was from a box or something that had a picture on it. So I decided to do it, and I tried to do a color pencil, and it didn't come out right. So I just okay, give it up. So yeah, Ronin War is one of my favorites. And let's see what else. I think I have something else on here. Bear with me. This guy here, which is, I don't know what I think he was just a practice. It was just a practice thing. I said if the body had come out right, I would have put a uniform or something on him to keep him but it didn't come out right because you can see by the bicep and the fist, I wasn't really there yet at drawing anatomy, but I was still practicing. So for all those people who see my videos now and say, well, I can't draw like that, as I always write a comment to say, yeah, I wasn't born drawing like that. It took me plenty of work, plenty of time. So Micronauts, this was by far one of my favorite books because I love that ship that they were flying in. And I don't know why I didn't finish that. Number one, this guy's jaw is crooked right here. I was not really good at faces at that point. I could copy stuff for the most part, but as far as seeing it in my head and doing it, I wasn't there yet. But I was a Micronaut fan. I think I had a couple of the Micronaut. I know I had a couple of the Micronaut toys as well. Just zoom in on this thing. Let's see. Yeah, you can see this crooked face and her face. I had this guy. I think I still have pieces to this guy, this robot. And I remember I did have the little bug. I don't know if I had him, but I know I still have pieces to this guy. So if not the whole thing, I have to look at it. I'm moving, and I said that in another video. I'm in the process of moving, and this is how I found these old drawings. And this was the little ship. I think they must have kind of got it from the Millennium Falcon, but it was kind of like a tea kettle almost with those things sticking out the front. But I love the design of the ship. I really like the design. So yeah, let me zoom back down. All right, next. This is high school. Now, my high school teacher realized my talent, and he brought in one day, it was the schematics of a car. And it was where the designers had to design a body around the frame. So the frame was all laid out on the sheet of paper that he gave us. So we'd have to design a body to fit around that. So I did that and I turned it in. But later on, I said, you know what? I'm going to design my own car without him because he was biting off all of my ideas and stories and so forth. So I had to kind of get away from him. So, but he helped me a little bit with some ideas, but still had to get away from him. So this was an original design. And I say this is high school, and I graduated high school of 79. So it was late 70s. So I don't know if this car looks like something you might say, oh, that looks like a this or that. But yeah, this was done a long time ago. And then the interior, let's see. I liked the digital stuff. I was into the digital stuff, the push buttons and the gold wing doors. And that was the dashboard. And it didn't have a steering wheel. It had the two sticks that left and right. You just push them forward and back to make it go. So yeah, that was back in the day. All right, next up, what do we have? This little centaur guy, which I don't know why I didn't finish that. I really don't. I think I didn't like the way the inking came out because I never really knew how to do hatching. And anytime I started hatching, it just didn't work out right. So I just didn't really get into it. I didn't finish it. Because back then my mind was always racing for a new idea, a fresh drawing or something. So if I messed up on something, I just gave up and I went to the next one. All right, next up. This was the next Ghostbusters. I wanted to do the next Ghostbusters. I wanted to advance them. And I had the story where the children would take over for the parents. And I can't remember. It's been so long since I did that story, but I couldn't figure the tech out. I couldn't figure out how to draw the tech, so I just kind of gave up on that. But yeah, it was supposed to be the children, and they were actually pulled into the little chamber, the little ghost chamber, and then the parents had to come and get these guys out using their old tech. So yeah, that was just a idea of mine. All right, next is this Batman story that I have been saying on a couple videos, that this is my first attempt at trying to do a comic book, and I had no idea about comic book paper because I took this to, it was a comic book shop, or was a professional artist there, comic book artist there, to show him my stuff, and he liked it. And he said the first thing he said was, "Do you know about comic book paper?" And I'm like, what's comic book paper? So he told me about that, and he gave me some great tips on stuff. So that kind of got me into doing comics, because this guy he sat me down next to him and he just started looking at my stuff and pointing out stuff and talking about perspective and so forth. And I think that stayed with me so much, and that's probably why I try to help as many people as I can with stuff. So let's get into the story a little bit and see if I can zoom in. I should have my glasses on, but the story starts out with Alfred coming down from the elevator, so that you have the down perspective. Then the doors open and he's got a tray of food for Bruce, who's there sitting at the computer, in the Batcave. And then you have the old car, and that was the old TV show Batmobile. And my son had that, so I bought him that car, and I took it so I could draw it because he was tearing toys up back in the day, so I kept it. So next page is Alfred walks up behind, basically beside him without saying a word, and then Bruce is so into the whatever's going on the screen, he doesn't really notice. And there was a blank thing right there. I don't know if I knew how to draw it or didn't figure it out. And then he looks real quick to see Alfred, who hadn't said a word yet. He might have said something in that panel, but then he looks down and he brought him some tea. So he does his little stretch while he talks about, what he's going through or what he's trying to figure out. He can't really figure it out. And Alfred says something while pouring him some tea. Next panel is Bruce shows him what's going on the screen. And I don't know if I ever showed the monitor of it, but it was supposed to be like a city grid, and he's trying to track something down, and he kind of figured it out. So at that point, he threw the robe off and he put his little bat suit back on. And I think it's that one, this one, and then that one. And see, back then I didn't even know about directions of panels. And I started to get more into the anatomy a little better then. But shading his mask was hard for me because I still don't know today how they do it. I love the way Jim Lee will shade his mask, but it's about light and shadow. But yeah, that's a whole different story. So he was ready to go back out as Batman. So he walked him over to the Batmobile. Alfred followed him over to the Batmobile, and then I think it's this one, and he got in and he hit the ignition button, which the fire came out. Then he slammed on the gas, which the tires were kind of squealed and burnt out, and then he took off. And I remember him saying right at this one, "Don't wait up for me, Alfred." And then as Alfred hears the echo dies down as he disappeared into the tunnel, he said, I always do. So he went back across the little bridge, went back across the bridge, nice upshot too. Got the tea, which he never even touched, and then went back to the elevator. So that was going to be an Alfred story because they never focused on Alfred, but that was going to be an Alfred story. So that was my first attempt at doing comics. So yeah, there you have it. This one is a Snake Eyes, which it's been so long. Paper is yellowing, but I think it was a cover from one of the Snake Eyes book, and Snake Eyes is one of my favorite characters. Snake Eyes, Batman, Black Bolt. And I think I said that in another video because I like characters that are more silent and in black costumes. And back in the day, Batman really didn't talk a lot. He was that mysterious type person, but I love Snake Eyes. So yeah. Next one was, I believe this was junior high. And this is my first attempt at trying to do something really detailed. And this was, I think it was the cover of the splash page of what is that? Star-Lord. It was a Star-Lord book. Back in the day, he had his own book. And then he went to some floating city. And I saw that and I was like, man, that is just so beautiful. I'm going to try to draw that. So I was scared to do that at first, but I just had to go ahead and do it. And after this one, I realized I can do a lot of detail. I was a detail person. That was like the one that hooked me. Let me see if I can zoom in on some of this like stuff that I did. And like I said, this was like high school, junior high school, way back in the day. So yeah, after doing this, I was hooked. I'm like, oh, I could do detail. So yeah, now that's almost like a 3D effect. Ooh, that's nice. I wish I can do that on my YouTube thing. I'll figure that one out. Okay, so next up, set my camera back down, get it focused, is this. I think this was one of the second ones I did back then because I figured out I could do detail. I couldn't do hands. This is when I first started to learn how to shade. And I got this part done right. This was my hand. I got this part done right back in the day when I was young. But I was afraid I couldn't get all the fingers in there. So I said, okay, I'm just going to do it like an alien thing. And then he's creating some kind of portal to some world, which is, yeah. So I was scared. After I shaded that, I was like, oh, it's coming good, looking good. As I said, I was scared to do the fingers. So I said, let me just do a 3-finger thing like he's an alien. So yeah, if I had kept up with the shading, I'd be shading some really serious detailed stuff. But I stopped drawing for about a year or so, because I felt that it wasn't getting anywhere. I wasn't getting any recognition. So who knows if I had kept on and just done this stuff every day. And as I said, this was probably junior high. So yeah. Next up, a quick Michael Keaton Batman. I tried. I was trying to get just into the blacks, just more solid blacks. And I don't know what happened with that. Another one I didn't finish. This was I don't know when this was, but that was going to be Cable and somebody else. I think it was from a video game, one of those Marvel versus Capcom or something. I think it was, but I like that. Now this was high school. Now we had a project to do a folding thing, and you do 4 faces that open out to fold to different faces, if you understand what I'm saying. I don't know. My teacher came up with that idea, I think, unless it was an idea from something else that he brought in. So, of course, I was into the sci-fi. So I did, who was that? Battlestar Galactica and Star Wars. And then you can open it up. And then you have the other Star Wars and the Battlestar Galactica. And then you can open it up again. And then I was into my shading again. Stay open for just a minute. So yeah, this is my C3PO. And I was going to shade the whole thing to make it look good. So let's do this one. So that would have been 3PO and Darth Vader. If I can be still, I'm holding the camera now. And then you would have had the Battlestar and the, who is that? Stormtrooper. So yeah, if I had finished that, and if I had shaded it, or if I had stayed with shading, I can still shade, but it's really been a long time since I tried to get into the detail type shading. So yeah, if I was doing this every day, if I decided I'm going to be an artist, I'm not going to work, I'm just going to do art every day, I could have been a contender. So let's go with the next one. Couple more. This was a Pitt. I really liked his, I can't think of who the guy was who did Pitt. I really liked his artwork. And then I couldn't really get wasn't too good about delts and the way the delts tied in with the biceps and the triceps. So later on, as I got a little better, and I noticed his head was too short. So later on, as I got a little better, I redid it. Now, can you see through that? Let's take this other one away. This Batman and this other one away. So yeah, but of course I never finished it because I was mad because the hand went off of the page. And that's why I say now, whenever you draw, always imagine what you're going to draw and then get it in the right size, shall we say. Draw you a box, and then that way you try to keep your drawing into that box, because I had a lot of times where I wanted to draw this big picture and the foot would go off the page numerous times. So yeah, so I get on people about that now. Next, and I think that is going to be it for the old stuff. I'll show you this one, and this was 95. This is 95. I wanted to send this to Wizard magazine because Wizard at one point they were putting people's artwork in the book, featuring it in the book, and I had this laminated, so it's going to be hard to see it without the glare. But yeah, this was going to be my Wizard, and I don't know if I sent it to them or made a copy of it and sent it to them, but this is the original. So I don't know. It's been a while. And I remember somebody was like, "Oh, it's metal, not paper." I think that's what somebody was like. And that might be why, if I didn't send it, it's because of that. Because the whole metal bending and paper bending thing. Yeah, it's gonna turn sideways. So yeah. So I think that's it for the old art. And just because when I went to college for a little while, and I didn't really get anything because all they wanted you to do was draw what they set up. And this was the first day in college, and I did these eggs. These like bring some boiled eggs so we can draw the eggs, and people were amazed. They were like, oh my God!" And this was like the first day, and they had like several track lights up, which made all these wonderful shadows. So instead of just drawing the egg, I decided to go ahead and do the egg and the shadows. So this is like the result. And as I said, if I had kept going with my shading, I could have been a contender. But yeah, that was the first day of college. And as I said, college was more of, okay, we set these plants up, now draw this and draw that. And he would point out, oh, you can use a little more light here, less light here. And it really didn't teach you anything. And my thing was comics. And we didn't have, back then, there were no classes for comic books, not where I lived. So maybe there was something out in California, but for me, it wasn't there. So yeah, I started to do and learn on my own. So yeah, that's it for this old drawings. Some of my old drawings. I have a lot more, but they're more newer, as in maybe late 90s, early 90s. So yeah, it's just, yeah, that was just my comic book stuff. So there you go. Hope you enjoyed that. And then I will start kicking more stuff out when I finally get my studio set up. Like I said, I'm moving, and I have a place for a studio now, so I can get everything together so I won't be cramped in with anything else. And once I get it up, then I'll start putting more stuff out. So that's why I'm slow getting stuff out. So that's it for now. I will see you guys later. Leave some comments if you like them, and if it's something you want me to show you how to do, let me know too, because I'm putting it in the videos as I did in my last video. Go back and check that one out. It's action pose position 18. At the end of the video, I'll answer your questions by doing a little drawing to help you. And I want to do that more to help more people. So again, that's it. I will see you guys later.